Settle in, mates. Make yourself comfortable, because you're about to hear a story that's stitched into the very fabric of Aussie folklore. Grab a cold one and brace yourself for a tale as Aussie as sunburn, snags on the barbie, and the sound of magpies swooping overhead. This isn't just any story, it's one that's haunted backyard conversations and late-night radio for decades. We're heading back to 1966, a time when kids roamed free, shoes were optional, and parents barely blinked as their little ones disappeared down the street for hours. It was a world where the only rule was to be home before dark. On Australia Day, 3 Beaumont kids, Jane, Anna and Grant, set off for Glenelg Beach, a sun-soaked paradise packed with families. But that day, the beach would become infamous for something far darker. They vanished. Gone, like the last Tim Tam at a family gathering. One moment there, the next, just a memory. But this isn't a tidy TV mystery with a dashing detective, a catchy theme song and a neat ending. Real life, as we know, is messier. This is the case that shattered Australia's innocence, sending shockwaves through every suburb and small town. Suddenly the idea that it couldn't happen here was gone. It's why your mum warned you about strangers in trench coats, and why every Aussie kid learned to keep their distance from anyone who seemed a bit off. Nearly 60 years on, the Beaumont case is still a national gut punch. It's a story that lingers in the collective memory, whispered about by grandparents and debated by armchair detectives. If you like stories that leave you unsettled, that make you double-check the locks and glance over your shoulder, you're in the right place. Smash subscribe. You might regret it. Or maybe you'll just find yourself hooked like the rest of us. We'll dig into the kids, the beach, the mysterious bloke, and the police, who, let's be honest, were about as ready for this as a kangaroo in a cockpit. The investigation was a scramble, and the whole country watched, desperate for answers. Back then, fingerprinting was more guesswork than science, and DNA was the stuff of wild science fiction novels. The tools were basic, the pressure immense. We'll sift through wild theories and outlandish suspects because, let's be honest, that's half the fun. The speculation never really stopped, and neither did the hope for a breakthrough. So strap in. This is the story of Jane, Arna, and Grant Beaumont, 3 kids whose faces became symbols of a nation's heartbreak. It's dark, confusing, and frustrating as hell. The more you dig, the more questions you find. Sometimes the scariest monsters aren't hiding under the bed. They're walking among us, blending in with the crowd. We'll poke at the absurdity, not the tragedy, because if Aussies can't find a bit of dark humor in the shadows, what's the point? So let's get into it. The beach awaits, and so does the mystery. Picture it, Australia Day, 1966. Adelaide is alive with celebration. The city is draped in flags, the air thick with the scent of barbecues and the sound of laughter. It's a day when families spill out onto the streets, proud and carefree, soaking up the summer sun. Adelaide's roasting, the mercury climbing higher than usual. Glenelg Beach is packed, umbrellas dot the sand, radios blare pop hits, and the water is alive with splashing children. Among the crowd, the Beaumont kids, Jane, Arna, and Grant, are ready for a day of freedom and fun. Jane, Arna, and Grant had done this trip before. Bus to Glenelg, splash around, home for lunch. It was a routine that felt safe, a small adventure in a city that seemed to promise nothing but good times. Their mum, Nancy, handed them coins for the bus and a little extra for snacks. She packed a lunch, gave them a gentle reminder. Be back by noon. It was a simple trust, the kind every parent hopes to have with their children. What could go wrong on such a bright, ordinary day? The kids hopped on the 10:10 a.m. bus, full of excitement, their faces pressed to the window as the city rolled by. For them, it was the start of another perfect summer day. Glenelg Beach was buzzing. Families, tourists, and the usual mix of characters. The sand was hot, the water cool, and the whole place pulsed with the energy of a city on holiday. Witnesses saw the kids playing under a sprinkler, laughing and chasing each other. They were just 3 siblings, blending into the crowd, their joy infectious. Everything seemed normal, nothing out of place. But as the clock edged toward midday, the mood shifted. The sun was at its peak, casting sharp shadows across the sand. It was around this time that something changed for the Beaumont children. The kids were seen with a tall, tanned man, maybe in his 30s, helping Grant get dressed and buying them pies. He seemed friendly, even familiar, chatting easily with the children. No one thought twice. In those days, strangers were just friends you hadn't met yet. Jane paid for the pies with a crisp £1 note, far more than their mum had given them. It was a detail that would haunt investigators, a clue that something was amiss. But at the time, it barely registered. Should have been a red flag, but no one blinked. The beach was a place of trust, where children roamed free and adults looked out for each other's kids. The last confirmed sighting, 12:15 p.m. The Beaumont children were seen walking away from the beach, happy and carefree, as if heading home. Then, nothing. They simply vanished, leaving behind only questions. When they weren't home by noon, Nancy's worry grew. She watched the clock, glancing out the window, hoping to see her children running up the path. By 2 p.m., anxiety had set in. By 3 p.m., Jim Beaumont returned home, and panic took hold. The family's world was suddenly upside down. They searched the beach, retracing every step, asking strangers, calling the police. The community rallied, but there was no sign of Jane, Arna, or Grant. The kids had vanished into the summer air. No trace, no clue. Their towels, bags, and laughter were gone, replaced by a chilling silence. The whole country would soon be searching, their faces on every front page, their names whispered in every home. But that day, 3 kids simply walked off the face of the earth, and nothing would ever be the same. The sun kept shining, the city kept moving, but beneath the bright sky, a shadow had fallen over Adelaide. The Beaumonts' nightmare had begun. Their home, once filled with laughter, was now silent, every moment heavy with dread and uncertainty. The police were about to face a case unlike any before. The search would become the largest in Australian history, changing the way a nation thought about safety and trust. And Australia would never be the same. The innocence of a sunlit afternoon was lost, replaced by a lingering sense of fear and heartbreak. The innocence of a nation was lost in the heat of that afternoon, a moment frozen in time, forever haunting the Australian psyche.
Struth, it's a scorcher.
Just tell the missus you were watching the kids.
Speaking of, see the Beaumont kids? Off on their own again.
Saw 'em with some tall blonde bloke by the jetty. Looked like a surfie.
Bit odd, isn't it? Grown man playing with kids he doesn't know?
People are friendly here, mate. Probably just helping out.
Maybe, still gives me the creeps.
Different times, Kev. Anyway, you see the cricket score?
Bernard's men are smashing the palms.
Beauty. Oi, look, there go the kids walking off with that bloke.
Must be a relative, right?
Nothing to worry about.
Yeah, maybe. Still feels off.
You worry too much. Pass another beer, will you? They watch the kids disappear up Jetty Road, none the wiser.
When the call came in, Glenelg police figured it was just kids running late. But as night fell, panic set in. The search was massive. Cops, volunteers, everyone combing the coast. The suspect? Tall, thin, blonde, tanned, which described half of Adelaide in summer. Police sketches were all over the place. Sharp face, round face, stubble, clean-shaven. Witnesses contradicted each other. Blue car, cream wagon, you name it. Cops chased thousands of tips, all dead ends. They interviewed every known creep in the state. No luck. The investigation was earnest but hopelessly outmatched. It was like hunting a ghost with a butterfly net. The pressure was enormous, the leads useless. The whole country watched, desperate for answers. The police were drowning in confusion, and the trail was already going cold. The police chased every wild and ridiculous lead.
Suspect in a green sedan with a surfboard spotted. Right. S1, let's roll. Those are my cats, not kids, you know.
A sombrero, the fiend, obviously.
While they chased shadows everywhere, the real trail quietly faded into nothing. With no leads, the police turned to the usual suspects. Bevan Spencer von Einem, convicted killer, matched the description but no evidence. Arthur Stanley Brown, creepy, looked like the sketch, but nothing concrete. Every lead fizzled out. Desperate, they called in a psychic. Gerard Quase from the Netherlands. Aussies raised cash to fly him over. Quase declared the kids were buried under a warehouse floor. The nation watched as they dug up the concrete. They found sand, pipes, and nothing else. Quase's vision was a bust, a national embarrassment. The psychic's trip cost a fortune and delivered nothing. The case was back to square one. Theories multiplied, but answers didn't. The investigation became a circus. The Beaumonts were left with heartbreak and no closure, and the mystery only deepened. 2 years later, the Beaumonts got letters, one for them, one for police. The writer claimed to have the kids, called himself their guardian, and described them in detail. He offered to return them, naming a time and place. Police set up a sting. Jim Beaumont in disguise. Cops everywhere. No one showed. Days later, another letter arrived, angry, accusing the parents of betrayal, vowing never to return the kids. It was cruel beyond words. Forensic tests were inconclusive. Decades later, DNA revealed the author was a teenager at the time, just a sick prankster. The one solid lead was a hoax. The Beaumonts' hope was crushed again. The case slipped further into legend. The cruelty of the letters haunted the family. The public's frustration grew. The mystery remained unsolved. The pain never faded, and the questions only multiplied.
They've got it all wrong, Baz. It wasn't one bloke. It was a cult.
A cult in Adelaide?
Perfect cover. Secret society. Summer solstice. Multiple tall men to confuse witnesses.
Who's in this cult? The Premier, the Pope?
Politicians, business leaders. Goes all the way to the top. The letters, misdirection, the psychic. A plant to create chaos.
You've lost it, mate.
It's not rubbish, it's research. They want you to believe it was just a random sicko.
Or maybe it was.
The truth is out there, Baz. You just gotta connect the dots.
Whose shout is it?
Yours, mate. All this truth-telling is thirsty work. They clink glasses, conspiracy unresolved. Pub banter fades out.
Before 1966, Australia was carefree. Kids roamed, doors unlocked, strangers trusted. It was a time when the sun seemed to shine endlessly, and the only worry was getting home before dark. Neighborhoods were close-knit, and the idea of danger felt distant, almost unimaginable. Parents waved their children off in the morning, confident they'd return safely by evening. The country felt safe, almost untouched by the world's darker realities. The Beaumont case changed everything. In an instant, the nation's sense of security was shattered. The disappearance of 3 children from a crowded beach sent shockwaves through every home, every school, every playground. Suddenly, every stranger was a threat. The friendly faces that once defined Australian communities were now viewed with suspicion. Parents began to look twice at anyone unfamiliar, and children were taught to keep their distance. Don't talk to strangers became gospel. Safety lessons were drilled into classrooms and warnings echoed in every household. The innocence of childhood was replaced by a new, uneasy caution. Freedom vanished overnight. Parents clung to their kids. Playgrounds emptied sooner, and the laughter of children was tinged with worry. The simple act of letting a child out to play became a decision weighed with fear. The humble panel van became a symbol of fear. Once just another vehicle on the street, it now carried a sinister reputation, whispered about in hushed tones. The case cast a shadow over the nation. It was as if a cloud had settled over the sunburnt country, dimming its light and changing its spirit. It's the scar that never healed. The pain lingered, etched into the national memory, a reminder of innocence lost. Every few years the case resurfaces, new leads, new theories, same heartbreak. Each time hope flickers, only to be extinguished by disappointment. It's our Jack the Ripper, our Lindbergh baby. The mystery that haunts us, the story that refuses to let go. The mystery endures, refusing to fade. Decades pass, but the questions remain, echoing through generations. The crime felt like an attack on the whole country. It united Australians in grief and fear, changing the way people lived and trusted. Decades have passed, but the story persists. The city has changed, but the memory remains, woven into the fabric of Australian life. It's taught in schools, debated in pubs, whispered in families. The Beaumonts are part of our collective story, a cautionary tale passed down. Some wounds never heal, and some questions never get answers. The pain of not knowing is its own kind of torment. The sun still shines on Glenelg Beach, but it's never quite as bright. The laughter of children is softer, the shadows a little longer. The innocence lost that day can never be reclaimed. It's a loss that shaped a nation, a moment that changed everything. and the shadow of the Beaumonts lingers on, a silent reminder of a sunburnt country that can never quite forget. Nearly 60 years on, we're no closer to the truth. Dozens of suspects, wild theories, and heartbreak, still no answers. The case file is thick, but the ending's missing. 3 kids went for a swim and never came home. Their parents died without closure. Some mysteries stay mysteries, no matter how hard we look.
The views here are for entertainment. All theories are speculative, no disrespect intended. Don't start your own investigation.
Thanks, Mr. Compliance. So what do you reckon? Lone predator, cult, or something else? Drop your theories in the comments. Smash subscribe for more dark Aussie stories. Stay safe out there, legends. And remember, sometimes the scariest stories are the ones we can't solve. Total word count, approximately 2,164.